Hi, I'm Katie Crane, and this is the Pilates Lounge.
So my boys have just been over in Sumatra, which is like another island in Indonesia. And I come over and just do some work and stuff, like my printers here and stuff. Like it's normal for where we live for people to come and do business here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Clever.
And you're from Durban.
I was born in Durban and I studied there. So yeah, cool. I also surf.
Yeah, I've surfed in Durban.
Have you been to South Africa before?
Yeah. My sister's husband is from Durban. So I've been there a few times. Like they live in London. But yeah, been there a few times, surfed Durban. Done quite a bit of like that coast all around Cape Town and stuff. Cold water, big fish.
My family's all moved to Cape Town now. So Cape Town's home. But my actual hometown's East London.
Okay, yeah.
East London is where Nahoon Reef is. That's the first recorded shock attack ever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
that feels like a wild place.
I've lost all my excuse me. I've lost all my surfing ability. Tried to surf a few months ago now, when we were home in February, and I've just lost it. London does it to you.
Oh, are you in London as well?
Yeah, we're just southeast of London.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're the same, like where we live in a place called Darwin, which is the very north of Australia. There's no surf there. We wakeboard instead, but it's so hard even coming to Bali because you don't have the surf fitness, right? So we struggle in the water when you're up against 16-year-old kids who are surfing all the time.
Wow, yeah, sure.
Paddle circles around you, but whatever, we still come.
And your Pilates.
Yes.
That's your main thing.
So I've got a Pilates studio and do teacher training as well. So basically the podcast started a couple of years ago just because students were looking for ways to further their education when I'm not with them. So I was like, right, I'll start a podcast, and I'll start putting information up there. You can listen to it when you want. And then other people started listening to it. And I thought, okay, well, this is a way for us to, continue education for Pilates instructors or movement educators. And also it's a way for me to reach out to people that I would never get to meet, right? So I get to learn while I'm sharing information with other people, which is cool. So I've met some great people along the way.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, and then I think you popped up in my Instagram, because I'm always scrolling through Instagram, seeing who might be a good fit for our audience. And the language that you use really popped out to me because it resonates with the way that we look at the body as well as movement professionals. I think like you use the terms, like medicine is movement or movement is medicine, and movement helps heal and stuff like that. And neuro work has become really popular in Pilates in the last probably two to 3 years. I've noticed it, and there are more and more people in the Pilates space talking about like using neuro in their conversations. But I wonder just how many people really understand what that means and how we might be able to take on board some of that understanding so that we can integrate it into what we teach without even, specifically thinking of working with somebody with Parkinson's or anything like that, but actually understanding what it is to work from a neurological lens, I suppose.
Well, this is right up my alleyway, so perfect. We can get as deep down the neuro as you want.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So, do you want to maybe like kick off? Obviously, you're a chiro by by profession. But your whole platform is movement based, and everything that you do is very nuanced as well. So you want to maybe introduce yourself to our folks?
Perfect. Are we recording already?
Yeah. Because no, you're fine. No, don't worry. Like my producer will go back, she'll check it out. But you know what happens? Like if I don't start recording, then we have this little conversation,
And you lose it. Yeah, for sure.
And then we start recording, and then people get weird.
100%. Brilliant. So yeah, my name is Dr. Cuan Wayne Coetzee. I've thrown in my dad's name Wayne because no one can pronounce Cuan, and Coetzee is a handful. So that's why Wayne's in there. But yeah, I'm a chiropractor by trade. I studied in Durban, South Africa, and the South African chiropractic degree is offered in 2 places, and it's very hard to get into. They need to accept about 40 students per institute per year, so 80 people per year. It's like nothing, and it's a very difficult course. It's 6 years. Many people don't get past 3rd year. Like our 3rd year is like systemic pathology, diagnostics, etc. So a lot of people don't even get past there. So yeah, so you leave this degree with so much knowledge, and then basically you fall into a clinic style. Whoever sort of takes you on as an associate, etc., you might learn their style. So chiropractic as a field is very broad. You get different types of practitioners, but you have such a big education base that you can actually kind of go into whatever field you actually want to. So yeah, I kind of fell into this pain management field, mechanical, myofascial release, so a bit of a mixture of physiotherapy, myofascial, chiropractic together. And basically our patients were always coming in with pain. And that's very rewarding when you treat people with pain, because you get them out of pain and they obviously love you. Sometimes you don't get them out of pain, you have to refer them, that's fine. But then people would come for 3 or 4 sessions and then phone you back when they like need you, when they hurt themselves again in a year's time. So I was like, well, something's missing if people aren't wanting to look after themselves intermittently before pain comes. So yeah, fast forward to 2019, I moved to the UK just to come and learn a different style, further my education. I wanted to specialize in the pain management, the sort of chronic pain stuff. And then, yeah, along that journey, I fell into the neuro route where it just all clicked that everything that any manual therapist does, Pilates, yoga, it's all neurological. Obviously, right? I think the brain controls everything. It's accepted, people understand that, but it's not necessarily spoken about until the last few years, you know. So, yeah, I got married a few years ago. We've got a 1-year-old, and I was on a work visa for 5 years. So there was no point in starting my YouTube or social media channels while I was on a work visa because, yeah, there's like quite strict rules, you know. I'm sponsored in the UK to be a chiropractor, not to be a Instagram person, right? So I literally waited until I was able to commit to content. And then the next thought was, what are we going to do? Like, there's so much information out there. What can we do to catch people's attention? So we went with the route of serious face 80s music and novel movement patterns. And these are novel movement patterns that we've seen in clinic almost change people's lives in some cases, where people have had chronic pain, they've seen everyone, they've seen me, and nothing is helping. And we start showing them these novel movement patterns, and people's pain starts going away, you know. And then so I've been seeing this for years, and I've been keeping a whole catalog of these movement combinations. And then a year ago, I just committed. I said, I'm going to make content for a year and see what happens. And it hit a sweet spot, I think. I think everyone just kind of accepted, wow, this is really good. People try it out. And the amount of comments and shares that we get where people say, wow, my pain of 20 years is gone from doing one combination of isometrics with a penguin pelvis. It's really humbling, and it's really awesome. And my whole brand and goal is to get people moving and to help people as free as possible. So, yeah, I'm really grateful that the pages have grown like they have. They might stop growing completely. That's perfectly fine. But at the moment, it's a great base to start from. And yeah, we are transitioning soon into more talking and education type content. Our library's got about almost 500 movement snacks now. But yeah, sometimes people get like lost now. Now I've actually just added to the noise on the internet now, and now we need to transition into more talking content. So we planned this that when my daughter was born, I started making content. She's turned 1 a week ago. So I'm getting a little bit more sleep now, and I'm going to start putting my face out there again.
Oh, sweet. So what is a novel movement pattern? Like, is that actually a term?
So, I mean, like, novel just means new. So when we are stuck in repetitive movement patterns, like someone might have their day job. Their job entails repetitive sitting, repetitive screen work, repetitive manual work. So people get really good and comfortable doing 5 to 20 movements. That's where Pilates and other types of rehab is so good, because it teaches the body the movements that it's not doing. Mm-hmm. So the novel movement is just reteaching the body and the brain that it can do other things too, because the brain's very clever in how it offsets things to reflex. So once it's a new movement pattern, the brain's like, let's pay attention here. But then once that new pattern becomes normal again, the brain offsets that to reflex, and then that becomes a normal movement pattern for you. So the key here is that can happen with painful movements too. Mm-hmm. So once a painful movement or what the brain has experienced as a painful movement, once that has become the normal movement, you have to do a lot of work to unlearn the painful movements. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we put together this protocol called neural re-education. You've seen that on my social media. And the neural re-education is just an educational framework that we've put together for public and clinicians. It's just our version of explaining how the biopsychosocial model works. It's by definition, it's the assisted relearning of pain-free movement. So you have to sometimes, depending on where a patient starts, sometimes the novel movements are where they start, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just get back to the basics, like the big pillars of movement, get someone doing some cardio, get someone doing some strength, get them doing some Pilates yoga for mobility, get them doing some balance. So those can be novel in their own way if people are not doing them. Mm-hmm. So what you've been seeing on the social media for now is just one layer of the whole system. It gets a lot more simple. Some patients, I'm sure you deal with them, where people do not do any exercise, don't know what exercise is, why it's good for them. So for them, the whole novel experience is just starting. But for someone like you, who's like an expert movement pattern person, sometimes the novel stuff, you have to get creative to introduce something new. Mm-hmm. And if you stop introducing new experiences to the brain stops growing, essentially. That's called aging.
Sure. Because my understanding is that this is how we teach in Pilates. Well, this is how I think that we teach in Pilates. Is say somebody comes in, we teach, they're in pain. We teach that we start figuring out where their pain points are, and I always teach, okay, well, let's not move into those pain points, right? So show me what you can do that is not hurting. Okay, cool. Let's play with that. And in my mind, I don't know if it's true or not, because I just work with, what I see. In my mind, those changes happen when something new is introduced, but within the session, the client needs to succeed in what they're doing in a positive way to then come back and do that again. And so then, no longer are they in that painful cycle. They trust what they're doing, but then we have to keep changing it for them to continue to develop. Is that what you're saying?
100%. So I think essentially, and I've always worked really well with yoga and Pilates instructors, because obviously we can get someone physically moving. My day job at the moment is obviously the hands-on treatment, but we can give the basic rehab exercises. But sometimes someone just needs to go and actually explore a different avenue of exercise treatment, which is Pilates, yogas, etc. There's a whole range of those now. So described is actually the 3 layers, like the 3 broad layers of this NRE protocol. And if you can think about it from the top down and from the bottom up. So from the top down, that's where you can consciously explain to someone, right, you have pain. It is okay and safe to move through pain if you're doing these types of movements. So the education is the top-down processing, trying to understand what's happening. Pain neuroscience education is its own treatment. So that's the top-down. Then from the bottom up, you get the hands-on treatment. So the chiros, physios, osteopaths, etc., they're doing stuff to the physical body to teach the brain that it's okay, that the tissue's not actually sensitive or painful. It actually physically can move. Sometimes you do need a helping hand to get a joint moving or a muscle released. So the education is the top down, the manual therapy is the bottom up, and then the movement, what like you guys do, is the sort of sweet spot that actually joins those two together. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a whole network in the brain, obviously. So the top down processing works on certain parts of the brain. I don't know how deep you want to get into this. The bottom down is obviously all the sort of the sensory pathways, and they all have to get integrated in that integration network. That's actually what it's called. Very broad term. And what is really cool about this whole system is that how clever people are and how great the scans are and how much information's out there, scientists still don't know how the brain works. And that is the most humbling part about the whole thing, you know. Everyone's learning everyone's kind of learning on the go. You can theoretically know that certain parts of the brain do certain things, but if you lose that part of the brain for a physical trauma or a disease, the brain will just do that processing somewhere else. So the brain's very clever how it can adapt and remold, and obviously it can remold better earlier in life. And now when you get to our ages, you have to be a little bit creative with how you change the brain's firing. You mentioned about the being consistency. You have to be consistent. Mm-hmm. Like doing one input or one treatment or one Pilates session, I explain that to people, is sometimes just trauma to the brain and like to the body. So if you do like one treatment session with someone, or one massage or one Pilates, it needs to be consistent, and you need to teach the brain this is a safe thing, this is what we're doing now. And that's why we always promote the longevity of movement. As I used to want to get every single patient I saw doing as much exercise as what I do. Exercise is easy for me, I love it, but I got my heart broken. No one cared about exercise. So we have to get a bit creative, where we just try and meet a patient where they are, see what they're comfortable committing to within their personal life. And even if it's just 2 stretches throughout the day for the first 6 months, that's perfectly fine. But they need to commit to something. So layer 1 of the full 10-layer system is accepting and committing. So again, this is just treatment 101, but unless someone has accepted that they need help, they will never get help, you know.
And so do you, like you just said, that a lot of people that you see, and same with us, they have a very low base level of fitness. Do you think that people who are at that super low base level have more experience in pain than what fit people do, or do fit people deal with it differently?
Yeah, I think everyone is individual. There are definitely cases of what you're speaking about, but then there are also cases of the professional athletes who develop these like chronic pain syndromes. So chronic pain is an interesting one. As you know, pain is real. Someone's experience of pain is real to them, but it is not proportional to the amount of tissue damage. So of course there's acute injuries that your body's primed to protect itself for, but the chronic pain is the one that I see every day, where the painful movement has become the normal movement. So we need to slowly unlearn the painful movement, and the best way to do that is to learn new movement.
Mm-hmm. And do you is it similar, like, you know, so would you also like introduce new movement that is feeling safe, isn't causing that painful sensation, and then you play with that for a while? Is that the way that you work as well?
100%. So in simple terms, yes. But obviously every patient's different, you know, like you might see someone who physically cannot move. So the like novelty for them is the treatment itself, you know, like me passively moving their leg is the new movement for them. But some people obviously active and moving already, they might go straight onto like the sort of novel type movements as like what I call homework. Patients always leave our rooms with some kind of homework, you know. Some people who physically can't move and who are in pain are getting hot and cold pack or some supplements, you know. That is novel in its own right. But so like the hot and cold packs, for instance, is a novel stimulus or a sensation. But then, yeah, if I to see you, for instance, we would know, right, you've got a great base of movement already. Why did XYZ become painful for you? Maybe it needs some hands-on treatment. Maybe it needs some education from the top down, or maybe it just needs a bit of novel movement patterns just to unbreak that cycle.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you think is happening? Like when somebody says, so say somebody comes and sees you as a chiro, because you do manual treatment as well, right? And then you send people with homework with their movement program as well. What sort of response do you get from people when they're like, well, I can feel it, so something must be damaged, and they have this catastrophic perspective of what's happening in their body, but you're trying to work with them to rearrange that perspective?
And this is where I'm sure you also experience it. Working with people is tough because what one motivation for one patient will be almost agonizing or detrimental to like someone else. So that's where the relationship counts the most. People will listen to you and trust you when they have a relationship with you. So what you're describing with the catastrophizing is actually a like medical term, you know. Someone's made it out to be a lot worse than what it actually is. And if you tell someone, listen, a lot of your pain is in your brain, someone might take offense to that just from their old traumas or how they've been like brought up. But some people would find that fascinating. So you just have to mirror someone at first, see what drives them, see their sense of humor. I bring a lot of humor into our sessions. Sometimes it helps to sometimes laugh about the pain. Like that's the best way to actually desensitize it, you know, is just say, well, listen, you're in the trenches. I often explain to patients who are in that catastrophizing state is that sometimes we have to make it worse before it even gets better. So you have to go through a bit of the sewage before you get to the clear water. Especially surfing in Durban, you have to experience that. But yeah, so catastrophizing is a big thing. Catastrophizing goes hand in hand with the fear of movement, which is medically called kinesiophobia. So a lot of people, I'm sure you've experienced this, are scared to move because of their pain. And that's normal. Like it's a normal experience to be scared to move because of pain. Like I've experienced all sorts of sports-related injuries, overuse injuries, and sometimes it's really painful and you like think, oh my gosh, like something must be wrong here. But you go through the motions, you do your testing, there's no nerve fallout. It's it's just an inflamed joint that can be very scary. So for us with a bit of a background, we can kind of discern, right, that is very painful, but 3 days later it will calm down the inflammation. But for someone who doesn't have knowledge of anything about the body, that's very scary when they like walk in skew to your clinic room. And this has never happened before. It's very scary. So we respect the pain. We respect that like everyone's got a different mindset and starting point. And you just commit and you move forward together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So obviously I found you on Instagram, and everything that you are doing on Instagram is these, what do you call them? The movement snacks. What's like, sometimes it just looks like you're moving like a penguin, but what is the basis behind what you're actually sharing on there?
So novel movement patterns, like a new experience to the brain, essentially is creating a prediction error in the brain. So let's say someone's had some chronic back pain and it's painful with the movements that they do. So they bend a lot, they drive, they sit, they stand, they go upstairs, downstairs. Then we get them to do something like a penguin pelvis, which is keep your knees straight and try raise your feet as high as you can, but you're using your pelvis to actually do that. And if you do that for 20 steps, deep muscles that you didn't know you had start to activate. Now, those movements aren't painful because the brain hasn't done them in a long time. So the person's got pain around the area, and now all of a sudden we've tricked the brain into doing an endurance movement that causes some fatigue and some like tiredness in the muscle. And that sensation on its own is a new pain-free movement. And the brain's like, okay, cool, we can actually move the pelvis again. We can move the SI joint. We can move the lumbar spine again. So we're just trying to introduce new and safe movement patterns, pain-free ones. And the prediction error is that the brain is expecting pain. And all of a sudden, something that the painful area is doing does not cause pain. Mm-hmm. That's the dopamine reaction in the brain. So obviously dopamine's fascinating molecule, but one of the things that dopamine does is it gets released with a prediction error, whether that's good or bad. So the brain's expecting pain, it doesn't get pain, and that is drugs. That is dopamine, everything gets attached to that euphoric movement because the brain's like, wow, no pain with this movement. And then again, just a once-off movement can sometimes trigger a wild reaction in a good way, but sometimes you have to repeat it, 5 times a day, 20 times a day. You have to feed the brain these good movements, and eventually that becomes normal again. Okay. So that's just the example of the penguin pelvis, which is a fascinating movement. But then you can couple that with something as simple as pushing against your head. So you're introducing a whole isometric movement through the spine, or you're just doing a jaw movement. Any combination is extremely novel to the brain. So you can be simple in the newness aspect, or you can be really complicated. And I think that's what's happened now with my social media is like we've actually got too many combinations there. So the frequencies, we've actually pulled back the frequency that we're posting because we're just getting the same questions now, like where do I start? What do I do for back pain? And I don't have that phase or program yet. So it's all a work in progress. There isn't a rush. I think people hurt themselves and get back pain every year. So I am not rushing anything. We're just building a slow, big base.
Mm-hmm. And so say you did take somebody with back pain, just because that's something super common that we all know about. Would you choose specific movements, or is it an individualized approach? Let's try this. How does that feel? Okay, if not, let's try this. How does that work for you?
So it's, excuse me, it's a very individual process. The original neural reeducation program was the 3 words behind me, which is remove the cause, remove the body, move forward. So that was the original NRE program. It still is, but we've expanded that to 10 layers now. So we'll try to see where a patient is on that kind of system. So they might be at phase 1, which is just they haven't even accepted that they need help yet. So we would start there. Then layer 2 is like intensive pain neuroscience education, teaching them, Some people know all of that already. Some people are doing exercise. Some people have had treatment before. They might jump straight into level 6, which is the novel movement patterns, because they're already doing the big 4, which is, we mentioned earlier, the strength, endurance, mobility, and balance. Some of them are doing all those already. And some people are doing the novel stuff already. And we just need to then get even more creative, Then we start doing the real psychological stuff where we see where in their lifestyle they might need some grief counseling or something, supplementation. Something might be in their diet that shouldn't be there, or they aren't taking something. So yeah, everyone, it's you just meet a patient at their specific needs. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's good. And where do you think that sometimes as practitioners we can get it a little bit wrong, like when we're always, you know, trying and keep somebody safe in movement, you know, and we're not exploring enough, or we're not leading the way enough for somebody to move forwards?
Definitely. And I get it wrong every day. You'll give a recommendation to someone and it's way too much movement for them, and it actually aggravates things. Or you give someone something that you think is good for them, and it's actually way too easy or basic or doesn't do anything for them. So that's where, finding someone to work with intermittently is important, you know. Obviously, I'm on the clinician side, so I've got lots of these patients who come in. I mean, I call them friends now, you know. They're just coming, like a lot of patients coming in every 2 or 3 months. They aren't in pain anymore, but they know that we can start to see some of these dysfunctional patterns creeping in, and we can keep them moving. So that's where you just need to find someone. I have a chiropractor myself, you know. I see someone every 2 months. He's on the west of London, so I have to like it's a bit of a mission for me to get there. He's a chiropractic friend of mine, so we exchange treatments. But I mean, I don't have pain, touch wood, but I still go and see him because there's all sorts of patterns moving in. We've got a 1-year-old. I mean, there's all sorts of movement patterns that I'm doing now that I haven't done before. So find someone who you can work with and trust, and go on this journey together. I'm sure you got lots of your, I mean, I don't like the word regulars, but they are your regular people, you know, who just love you and trust your opinion. And it's just a journey.
Can we come back to chiro a little bit? Like, you know, like I guess what we traditionally think of as chiro, right? The backcrackers of the world. Like, I see a chiro once a month. I love seeing her. I don't have anything in particular that I see her about, but there's something that happens in my system from going to her regularly. What is that?
So chiropractic has always been on the one spectrum of healthcare, right? My brother's an orthopedic surgeon. All of his colleagues don't know what a chiropractor is. They get taught that chiropractors don't know what they're doing. And that, like, I used to take offense to that, but I've just grown up, it's fine. But chiropractic is a broad field, and a lot is happening with any hands-on treatment, you know, whether you're seeing chiros, physios, osteopaths, any hands-on treatment is big. It's a sensation overload to the brain. So one thing I want to touch on with what the chiropractic adjustments are doing, or with a joint, you joked about cracking. When you adjust a joint and it goes past a certain range of motion, that's going to send extreme amounts of sensory input to the brain. And that's what often is that dopamine response, is where the brain wasn't expecting to get that much movement ever, because the movement patterns have been restricting movement. You've got tension, etc. And the chiropractor adjusts or moves your neck, or like gets a massive safe release, and to the brain that is euphoric. So that's the sort of neurology behind the physical adjustment or the physical treatment. But then there is also all sorts of pathways that science can't even explain now. Similar to acupuncture, we do lots of needles here. And acupuncture, again, was not as voodoo as chiropractic, but for a long time it was just like, well, it's accepted, it works, but no one knows why. And now they've got these functional MRI scans where you can scan the brain in real time whilst doing certain things to the body. And you can see pathways in the brain waking up that can't be explained. So I'm waiting for those scans to come out a lot more with regards to manual therapies, because I've told patients a lot, you know, like, wow, you hold a lot of tension in XYZ, we treat the person and they cry for the whole day, you know, or people have major emotional reactions to treatment. And we can't explain that by just, oh, well, we release tension, you know, it's not just tension. You can wake up all sorts of neurological pathways with physical touch. So yeah, it's sorry, I'm speaking a bit in circles there, but I've started to just explain everything I do in the neurological sense. So there's a physical sensory input, but then there's a whole input that can't be explained yet, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I find it fascinating as well. I feel like because there's so much more information out there that we're, as body people, we're so much more open to other people's point of view and other people's experiences that it's almost gotten harder to explain what it is that you're doing for somebody, because for years you're seeing results, you know your field or your profession that you work in, you're seeing results in the profession that you do, but there's more that happens to your clients in those sessions as well that can't necessarily be explained. But now there's all these conversations around that, and it's not necessarily answering things, but it's just opening up more conversations, which is that circle of conversation we have.
Correct. We are living in a funny world, let's just say that. But we are living in a world that's got a lot of information. So yeah, I mean, I love testing myself against the AI models. I will say, hey, AI, I am doing XYZ. Scrutinize this for me. Does this stand up in a room of orthopedic surgeons? That's my common question to it. Does this stand up? And I say, go deep. And it's cool to have all the information, because now it's like you can say something with a bit of confidence. It's like in the past, it was like, oh yeah, the chiropractic input adjustment is sensory overload. That was just in theory. It made a bit of logical sense, but now we can prove it. So it is pretty cool. But yeah, people have this information at their fingertips. It used to be called the sort of Google patients. People come in and they say, oh, Google told me XYZ. And now people come in and they say, well, ChatGPT told me what I've got. And I love that, because it means that someone actually cares about themselves. If someone's done their own deep dive and they come in and say, I've got piriformis syndrome, we test it. It might be piriformis syndrome, it might be sciatica, it might be a cyst on the nerve. There's lots of other options, but at least this person cares and they've learned a few words and a few muscles. And then we try and impress them with a few other muscles that ChatGPT didn't explain them about. But yeah, I don't know if that even answers your question, but yeah, we are living just in an interesting world, an interesting time to be a practitioner. I thoroughly enjoy it. Yeah. And
is that what kind of helped you just get out there and get a little bit more creative? Because compared to the chiro down the street, what you're doing is very different, right? And you've built a huge following. I mean, it was just yesterday, I think I was like, oh, I wonder how many people is actually following him. You're like a lot of followers, hey? Like in the tens of thousands of people are watching what you're doing.
Yeah, it has been a very humble growth. Like everyone asks, what's the magic sauce? There's no magic sauce. Put out your passion, and there's clearly a gap. There's clearly a gap for the stuff. Yeah, I wrote a book in 2020. It's behind me there. I mean, the whole point of the book is just to educate the world. Some people are readers, some people like reading. And yeah, I've been so grateful for this little bit of growth, because now people are naturally seeing that I have a book. So before this growth, I mean, only friends and family bought the book, to be honest. Yeah. So yeah, it's just really humbling that now we can actually get education out there. And I try reply to every comment myself. Sometimes I have to jump on the indoor bike for 3 hours just to get through some comments. But yeah, a lot of people are just saying thank you. And it's part of that is just quite sad, actually, that they've had to go through so much and no one's taught them the basics. But I also respect that the basics in my mind is not basics to everyone else. So that's why we're trying to build these education programs where we can just have next to free education to the public, where people who want to learn a deep dive about their brain and body and how all of these things work will hopefully have that in the future.
Well, and I mean, all of the work that you've done on Instagram, and FYI, you could just go back and actually, use those exact same videos and just post them again. Nobody's ever going to know there's so many of them. But like that takes a lot of effort, It's not like, oh, well, it's just a 60-second video, it's just, it doesn't take you 60 seconds to put that up. Like you have put a lot of effort into that. So all of the following that you've got is not by chance, is it,
Yeah, it takes a lot of time and effort. I think everyone has this idea of, I want to be an influencer or I want to get a following. And I think everyone's got 10 good ideas, right? That will break the internet. And it's the main question is, do you have 100 ideas? Can you keep going, And I suppose I'm blessed that I've been doing my job for 13 years now. So honestly, we've only scraped the surface with what we're going to be posting. So I mean, this is just like one microscopic part of it, So yeah, we've got lots coming out. But yeah, you have to be consistent and you have to commit. So as I said, I didn't do it when I was on my work visa, because if it became a monetizable thing, I actually was not allowed to earn a secondary income. Immigrant mentality. So I couldn't do it while I was on the work visa. And then I finished that about 18 months ago. So then my wife was pregnant. We had an interesting story. I'll tell you off record if you want. But we had a very interesting pregnancy. And I basically started posting just before she was born. So, but I committed. So I didn't let the pregnancy and the hospital stays prevent anything. I had pre-recorded a lot of stuff. So when I was commuting back and forward between hospital stays, I was just editing. It was quite a fruitful time, actually. It just probably kept my mind off of things.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think it's consistency is the key on the social media machine. It wants to keep you on there, doesn't it? So if you can be consistent, then that's the key. Yeah,
and I think everyone's got 10 great posts, but yeah, like the consistency and the passion has to be there. Otherwise, I think people can just intuitively smell, okay, this is now getting forced, or this is not natural, or you're having to find some other motivation to keep going. Yeah, I secretly just enjoy it. I enjoy trying to explain what the movement is doing. We try and throw in a few muscles there that catches people's attention. But yeah, so we do try to be creative. It's now getting quite tough to maintain because life, baby, and I'm trying to do all the other stuff. Like phase 2 is now starting. So yeah, it's becoming a little more tough, but it's great. It's fun.
And so tell me, what do you see? Like, are you going to end up doing like further education types of things for people like our listeners? Are those the people that you're going to be doing courses for? Or
definitely. So we want to bring out courses for the public and for clinicians.
Okay.
Not that any professionals might care, but I have had lots of practitioners reach out, like I think they just read 3 or 4 posts. They're like, well, this makes sense. This is what I've been seeing in clinic for the last however many 20, 30 years. So I think some people are saying, oh, wow, someone's finally put a few words to what we've been seeing already. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if anyone asks, are there future courses or anything like that, I've just got a list of names of people who have shown some interest. And yeah, I'll probably just use them as guinea pigs for the sort of first, call it like a trial course. But we want to have a clinician course and a public course. Because yeah, some people in the general public are just wanting to learn, So you could have a 10-week course that anyone can learn.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, I know for sure for our industry, like Pilates professionals are hungry to expand their knowledge and this type of stuff. Like you can easily integrate it especially into a clinical setting. It's the type of stuff that we play around with, and I don't always know why things are working, but we're super exploratory in our studio, and I think more and more clinical Pilates places are. So to then understand the why behind what it is that we're seeing anyway is really what people are looking for.
Yeah, and the algorithm is funny how it obviously pushes your content to certain places. So, I mean, yeah, I have a following in Australia and America, everyone except for local people. So I've even got many local patients from between Facebook and Instagram, it's like well over 1 million followers. I haven't got that many patients from it because people aren't local, unless you're half an hour from me. I mean, some people have traveled from Europe to come see me, which is wildly humbling, but you can't see them regularly. So then I'm like, well, let me help you find someone local to you. So with that in mind, that's where I'd like to go one day. I mean, this is my big dreams, but like have a network of people, right? So I'll give you the training if you want it, and then you could be a NRE practitioner in your area. And some people might just Google and find it, and they might find you from it. So, and again, this isn't like something that I want to like monetize too much. It's just get people out, get people all speaking the same language. Because there's a lot of noise out there, and we want to try and have structured noise as opposed to just everyone giving different opinions. I think it's good to have some structure to the noise. So hopefully I can offer that one day. We'll see.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So before we go, I do have a couple more questions for you, if that's cool.
As many as you want.
Okay, cool. Could we touch a little bit on, like, how do you think a movement practitioner, which is what our listeners are, how do you think we should look at motor learning differently when it comes to working with pain?
How should we look at motor learning differently? Yeah, I mean, that's a big question. How should we look at motor learning differently? I actually don't know.
Okay.
I actually don't know. Yeah, I think we've covered aspects to what I want to say in this talk already, I think the main thing would be meet someone where their needs are. Because like if a professional triathlete comes to see you, they're already doing so many good things. You need to meet them where they are and stimulate them just enough novel stimulation to keep their brain and body guessing. So I'd say probably that's where we should go, is find where a patient is, or a client, or a person who comes to you for exercise, and meet them where they are and see where the incremental gain is that could make the biggest effect on them long term.
Okay. And so let me even word this a little bit differently, specifically for Pilates instructors. So Pilates is quite often taught, like, you've got to be so precise in exactly what you're doing. This joint has to be exactly here, and your breath has to be exactly here. Like, there's these nuances in Pilates that we all learn when we start teaching Pilates, and that, in my mind, it is the foundation of our learning. But then when we apply that in real life, it doesn't happen in real life. So how could we maybe think about the relationship between precision and variability in movement?
I think the answer for that is education. Educate someone that, yes, in the practice you might use certain breath work techniques to just time the activation, but like you said, in like reality, that isn't going to happen. Like if someone has to quickly bend down to pick up something, they aren't breathing in, breathing out, bending down segment by segment. So yeah, I think the education comes in there like a lot. Someone needs to know that why the movement is good for them. But also, I think, so education is a big part of our clinic. Also, accountability. So I'm sure you have lots of fun with your clients too, where you become really good friends with them and they trust you, but it's an accountability thing. So they'll want to listen and trust you more, the more that they know and trust you. I mean, it sounds obvious, sorry, but yeah, I think the accountability is important, and education. That's what I'm going with.
Sure. And do you think, like, in the way that you showing your clients movements to do, like, is there real precision in the way that they're doing it? Like, so say a new Pilates instructor will be so strict on, maintaining your neutral spine during this movement and do this during that movement. Again, when we work with real bodies, that doesn't work for everybody. So the way that we teach, especially when we work with pain, is, will you show me how you do this movement, but you show me how you do it, and then let's unpack it, kind of thing. How do you look at it?
I get what you're asking now. Yes, so I think there's different tiers of importance. So tier 1 is, are they moving?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first and foremost thing. Some people, I'm sure you've like seen those high maintenance clients who want the precision. They want to know exactly what breath they're doing with what segment. Some people get stimulated by that, and that's where it's so individual. Some people will thrive on that specificity, but for some people, I mean, that turns me off exercise. I'm just like, no, I'm here to do the exercise. I want to work through the movement patterns. So again, it's so individual. Some people thrive on that kind of input. Some people, it would actually make them not want to come back, because it's like, well, Pilates is becoming a bit of like a lecture for me, whereas I want to go move my body,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have to find that sweet spot, and yeah, probably give a like bit of a mixture. Some people want the advanced stuff. Some people want just to get moving. So I think the most important thing is just get moving first.
Sure. But there's no in your mind, or in your view, there's no value of being like completely precise. So say in Pilates, we might do an exercise that is called spinal articulation, right? Individual, like segmental movement through the vertebra. And you're like, no, but you're not moving through those 2 or 3 vertebrae. How important is it to work through that? Or do we just observe it, be aware of it? If it's not causing an issue, we don't worry about it.
Yeah, so I would say it's very important sometimes, because basically what you're doing with that kind of cue is that you're affecting the top-down processing. So we spoke about that earlier. So I've tried to move segment by segment. It is physically impossible, like you actually can't do it. So, but the cue of trying to do it means that you're trying to control incremental movements. So you're using that terminology, the education, just to get someone to try and focus on certain movement patterns. But once someone's got that movement pattern going, then you might want to try a different cue with them. And then you might say, well, ease into it, which is going against what you've said at first by segment. So I think it just always has its place. I think it's important for people to be cautious with movements. If they got pain and they're slowly introducing, if they're new to movement and new to Pilates, that's quite important then to almost try be protective with their movements in a way, safe with them, I suppose. But yeah, the professional triathlete walks into your office. They aren't doing segment by segment, They want to move through big patterns. They're on the clock. They want to do 45 minutes of core and go. So yeah, I'd say it depends. It is important, but perhaps not important for everyone.
Sure. And I'm wondering then, so say if we just took that particular movement, spinal articulation, could we use that as what you talk about as a novel movement pattern by just changing the focus or playing around with the nuance of it?
100%. You could do that exact movement while doing a neck isometric as an example, or you could do it with doing a penguin pelvis or a hip hike, or you could combination it with any movement. And yeah, almost guaranteed no one's done that before, and at least not in their brain's memory have they done that movement pattern before. So yeah, when you have to get creative, the combinations are great. And especially so back onto the first thing that we spoke about is the whole novelty. Newness and novelty is one of the big five pillars to me for brain health. So we've summarized them as the LENS principles, LENDS, just to get people thinking about these things, but love and accountability, gratitude, that's its own pillar. Exercise, obviously it's its own pillar. D is diet. That's obviously what you put into your mouth, but what you don't put into your mouth sometimes. S is sleep. So those are all completely accepted these days. But then what some people don't think about for brain health is introducing new experiences. So learning new skills. So in our fields, movement fields, that novelty sometimes comes in. You have to be creative. Your regulars are so used to doing the segment by segment oscillation, but sometimes they aren't actually getting much benefit from that anymore, besides just going with it. So you might have to be creative for them, even just for like a short time. It's very good to do these things in seasons, so you could have a few months where you're just focusing on a lot of new stuff. Then that normal oscillation movement kind of gets unlearned in a way, and then you introduce it again in a few months' time, and that becomes novel again.
So it's
Does
kind
that make
of
sense?
Yeah, totally. So it's kind of bringing things into our session that isn't anticipated by the client.
100%, and it's got to do with that prediction error. So we spoke about prediction error. Sorry. That's where the brain pays attention, is when it's expecting XYZ. So your regulars come in and they're expecting, here we go. We've got the 15 minutes on our front, we've got 15 minutes on our back, 50 minutes on each side, and then all of a sudden you mix it up completely, and they'll be like, wow, that was a good session, just because it was different.
So then once you see people, so they've like you said, from the bottom down, from the top, from the bottom up, from the top down. So some manual therapy, education, and then movement is the sweet spot. And then what they're kind of seeing you every couple of months or whatever, like for some maintenance, but ultimately then they're out in the wild, doing, taking on board everything that you've taught them and living an active lifestyle. Is that the key ultimately?
100%, yeah. So we've spoken about the first layer, which is acceptance. The last layer, layer 10 is what we call relapse proofing. So you're going to relapse, you may experience some back pain again. You might be fatigued or exhausted or dehydrated or slept funny or been on holiday, different beds, pillows, and you come back and your back is now painful again. So we teach people what to do when that happens. But that's where, if it's in someone's life and budget to keep going, those infrequent checkups every 1, 2, 3 months, whatever people can commit to and afford, is gold. Gold. I literally saw a plasterer last night, and he's a lovely guy. And he said he thought he didn't need the session last night. Like, he's been feeling good, It was the most painful session he's ever had, he said. So, yeah, so you've seen that many times before, Often you think, oh, well, I'm actually feeling good. But then we go back to the basic pain principles, pain is real, but it's not related to tissue damage. So that tissue damage and strain can be building up without pain, and it can be painful without that. So yeah, once you find someone who you trust, that's not going to take the mickey out of you, who has your best interest at heart, stick with them. Simple.
Yeah, we see a lot the same. Hey, is that teaching our clients that it's normal to have a regression, that everybody does at some stage, but B, you now have the tools to know how to identify it and what you need to do with that, so that you're not stuck in that.
100%. And a lot of my patients, I say, like, if your back gets sore again, which it will. Back pain's common. Most people experience it. So if your back pain flares up, don't phone me straight away. Get a hot pack on, get a cold pack on. I've shown them a lot of exercises. I'll say, try some of the usual movements, get the brain back to its safety movement patterns. Make sure your hydration's on cue. Take some supplements. We have a list that we always recommend. So just often the 2 or 3 days of that, the people are back to normal. So yeah, again, yesterday I saw someone, and yesterday was Monday. He hurt himself on Sunday. And I said, I don't like seeing someone the next day, because the inflammation's at its peak, and the acute inflammation is going to be there probably for 72 hours. So I said to him, I was like, listen, I'm going to treat you tonight, but you might be sore tomorrow, which is today, Tuesday, and even into Wednesday, he's probably going to be sore. But at least we've helped the healing process. We've obviously got that safe input from the bottom up. So we explain that to him. And yeah, like it always helps when in the room, someone's like, oh yeah, that feels a lot better. I mean, I haven't spoken to him this morning. It's still earlier, but I'm pretty sure he'll be sore today. But we've taught him that that's okay. Pain is fine. He's got no red flags. So from the top down, he knows that his pain isn't actually a dangerous pain right now. He's got no red flags. It's just a bit of inflammation and a few joint strains, maybe some nerve irritation.
Yeah, okay. And so you mentioned supplements. What do you recommend and why in general?
So I literally wrote a blog about this last week. So I've got my Amazon storefront of the exact supplements that I take myself. But again, you can take everything and it's like, well, what's helping, right? But in my world, the sort of first tier of like, if you're going to start with something for musculoskeletal, neuromusculoskeletal issues, we would say magnesium, vitamin D. Even though you're in a sunny place, sometimes you could be in a sunny place, but because you're avoiding the peak heat, you actually might have low vitamin D. So I'd ideally check your vitamin D before you start supplementing with it. But yeah, I mean, you can still take it if you want. So vitamin D, omega-3s is massive. The EPA and DHA in omega-3s is directly linked with most of the inflammation pathways in the body. And then for joint specific, glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM. Those are the three ingredients in most brands of like arthritic joint supplements. The ingredients of those often contain the glucosamine, chondroitin. So yeah, good research out about those. For those who are interested in the deep dive, the blog is interesting because we go into some of the science behind why those supplements are really good.
Cool. And with omegas, my understanding is with omega-3s, a lot of the fish oils are rancid before you even get them. I've read that krill oil is one of the better sources, but otherwise, how are you getting your omegas?
100%. And that's where, you go online, you've got cheap options. Obviously, people always look at the cheap option, right? I wouldn't trust the cheap options in today's day and age because the cheap creatine's also on the list. That's phase one. A lot of the cheap stuff, it's cheap because it's coming from a cheap source or it's been watered down or powdered down. So yeah, that's where the premium type brands, personally, I've got no link to them, but I've used Solga for the last decade. It's just one of the more expensive than the cheap brand supplements, but you know what's in there is good. So yeah, like it is tough to know. But yeah, I think you can pretty much, let's not get into trouble. It is tough to know.
Yeah, but I think that's also is an important conversation for our listeners to be having with wherever you're getting your supplements. Make sure that they are high quality. Find someone who does. We have like one shop that we send all of our clients to. We know that we can trust that one shop. She has the best information in the town that we live in. So just know that person where you live, that you're getting stuff from a trusted source. Because I'm the same. Like all of those things are things that that I take as well. And what was the last one that you just said?
Creatine.
Creatine is so important for women of my age, like perimenopause, menopausal women. You need that thing. You need creatine for your brain, not just for your body.
100%.
Okay, awesome.
I mean, creatine used to be obviously touted as the sort of teenager gym mix. Yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. But yeah, again, we're living in this world where information is out there, and it's really popular to be healthy now, which is cool. Like 10, 20 years ago, it was cool to be drunk. Like it was cool to show how drunk you got. These days, I mean, youngsters aren't even doing that. So it's great. It's great that everyone's conscious about these things. But then the flip side of this is that it comes with growth and popularity, and then you get a lot of misinformation. And it's lots of noise. So we're adding noise by doing this today, but hopefully people can see that it's trusted noise. Yeah. You just have to have a bit of a gut feeling sometimes, like if you feel like, oh, this person doesn't make sense to me, it's not making sense, get a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion. Ask your AI what's happening. That's where AI is so helpful. Ask it, say, scrutinize this for me. It's great.
Do you prefer ChatGPT, Grok, or Claude? What do you use?
A mixture. Yeah.
Same.
A mixture. I'll often like just cross reference, I'd be like, hey, this is what I've just told the patient. Does it make sense?
Yeah. I think that AI is a good tool for us, but it should never be doing the thinking for us.
Correct. It is going to make a lot of people get lower IQs because they don't think for themselves, but then it will just make the cream always rises to the top. So, I mean, I love that you've got so much information at your fingertips. It's really fueling the nerd in me. It's great. You used to have to pay for this information. It's a joke that it's free. So yeah, I think people who are curious and want to learn, it's fascinating. But yeah, some people who are just using it to get through universities and schools and things, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm a bit of the mind, like, what are they taking all of this information from us for? Because they are like listening to what we are asking, and like there's a lot that's going on with AI. But yeah, I agree. Like I'm enjoying it. I nerd out with it all the time. I go into little deep dives on it, on different topics, and it is really handy if we're using it as a tool.
Yeah. And for the curious minds out there, it's a game changer, complete game changer. You're gonna get the creative inventor people are going to invent the most incredible things in the future because they've got such ease access to information. I mean, how many inventions in the past weren't made because you just didn't have information? Now, if you have an idea, man, do it. Like it's really, really cool. But yes, there's obviously with all cool things, there's a dark side to it, So anyway, let's keep fighting the good fight.
Oh, hands down. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out today. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Where can our listeners find you? What's the best place to find you? I know that you've got your Instagram, and we'll pop it in the show notes. What's your handle?
So on Instagram, it's MoveMed UK. My book is called Why Movement is Medicine. So MoveMed UK is the handle, and our website is movemed.co.uk. So it's all MoveMed, but yeah, if people get my name's a handful. I'm the only one out there. It's quite easy to find me.
And please, let's catch up again. Like, when you do start to roll out your courses, you're more than welcome. This platform is like, I don't monetize it at all. It's all about just putting word out there, just really educating our industry and supporting our industry so that we can serve people better. So you are a great fit for us.
Brilliant. I've jumped on a few podcasts like with positive, like-minded people like yourself. And yeah, if you would like, I'll sponsor you the training to become an NRE practitioner. Yeah, it'd be great.
Oh yeah, sweet. Yeah, I'm always curious to learn more. Huh?
Awesome. If you ever want to do a deep dive into the science of any of these things, we could plan a future podcast. It'd be great.
Okay. Yes, let's do it. That'd be awesome. I know that our listeners would love it, and I love sponging off of people giving me more information for my hungry brain.
It's a clever niche. You guys nailed it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cuan, for your time.
Pleasure. Chat soon.
See ya. Thanks, dude.
Awesome. Done.
Yay. Thank you for your time.